Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. And of course, that's through the United Public Radio Network, which you just heard in our interview, and that is at 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Today, I'm so excited and blessed because we have with us the famous Deborah Graham. She is a world-renowned psychic. She's been, for decades, I think for over 30 years, predicting people's innermost thoughts and dreams who are looking for answers. She's a professional spiritualist, advisor, and psychic matchmaker who connects with people on all levels. She also starred in the TLC series, The Psychic Matchmaker. And rather than me explain who she is, I'm just going to have her hop right in. Deborah.
Thank you so much for having me. The pleasure is all mine to be here with you. And thank you for this beautiful show that you have helped so many people raise their vibration and frequency and do what God, spirit, or angels, guides have led you to do. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. It's truly a blessing. I was so excited. Let me get this ticker running. Now, of course, I'm going to have all the links to where you can find her. And I think her main link is psychicdeborahgraham.com. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. And of course, we will put in the description, if it's not there already, of this video, any books that you have available, any courses, anything like that. Of course, we'll get out there and make sure folks know. So tell us, for those of them folks that don't know who you are, I'm going to step aside for a minute or two and let you take the stage. Tell people who you are and kind of like your journey, what got you here.
Well, it's a miracle because it's a blessing and a curse. I'm third generation. It was my grandmother, my mother, and then myself. So I like to say it's a blessing and a curse. And it's not something you really learn. It's something you're born with. And the older you get, the more in tune you get. But it's something you cannot turn off. So I started seeing premonitions around the age of about 6 years old. Of course, sometimes you see scary things before you see happy, fun things. But the older I got, the more intuitive I got. And my journey just took off from there. I ended up manifesting a reality TV show on TLC's called The Psychic Matchmaker on Discovery Network. And then that led me to a book deal. The first book was Deborah Graham's Guide to Attracting and Keeping Your Own True Love. And then Get Your Head Out of Your App. Yep, that's right, app, because we're so connected and yet we're so disconnected. Led me to being interviewed with Jenny McCarthy and ended up with a radio show on SiriusXM radio. And I do appear still on SiriusXM radio from time to time. And I was on there for, oh my God, about 6 or 8 years. And then I ended up now with a podcast called The Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. And earlier this year, we got signed up with a podcast company. So the journey has been so great and fun, but be careful what you ask for because you never know what you're going to get. So I'm a deep, true manifester. And that's what I teach all my clients, whether working with me in person or calling into the Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. Again, you can stream it anywhere, any place, anytime. That's what I teach people, how to raise vibration and frequency and pay attention to the signs because the signs are already there. And, you got a lot going on too, Carol Ann, spiritually, you're raising vibration and conscience, especially with this show, and you put it out there. And I always say, be careful what you ask for because you're going to get it. And I think, the proof is in the pudding and you're it. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. You're right now, right on the head. But thank you again so much for being here. I love your energy too. I can actually feel it through the screen. It's absolutely
energy waves. Well, I appreciate you. And you have a lot of purple, and purple is a direct connection to God and spirit, whether you call them Allah, master, teacher, creator. And that's all the 7 signs of energy. Of course, there's 7 chakras, they say, but there's way more than 7 chakras, but those are the main grid, but we're connected. It's kind of like, energy. There's no beginning and there is no ending. It's all a connected vibration. And that's what we are. Spirit's going through a temporary human experience and the soul never dies. The soul is always alive. That's why I connect with the other side as a medium. And there's some messages coming in, Caroline, for you too.
Oh, exciting stuff. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Today I wanted to focus. We're going to get to so much stuff, but I wanted to kind of jump right into you. I think you wrote about or podcast about the six psychic secrets to manifesting wealth and success. And I think that's important nowadays because so many people are struggling, as you know.
Absolutely. Well, because this is financial literacy month and it's about wealth, health, and happiness. And it's like everything else out there in life. You're going to have a good day, you're going to have a bad day, but this is the time to get ready and release old traumas and old fears. So my first step is to raise your vibration and take off the old loser magnet. Otherwise, don't put on the poor me, put on the I can, I am, I will, and manifest it. Because if you think, excuse me, most psychics get chills. I burp a lot. That's my confirmation validation to spirit. And if
Oh, how
you,
wonderful.
it just comes in. It's so amazing. And it's coming from energy from you. And there's so much going on. You have two loved ones, and we're going to get to that. I want to get to this, but they're like talking in my ear as I'm channeling.
Oh,
But yeah, it's pretty incredible. But as it is financial literacy month, it's all about waking up and raising your vibration. So you have to set those standards higher in order to build. Step number 2 is trust your own psychic intuition. That means listen to your gut, not your head, not your mind. Listen to your gut. That is your Gita. And the Gita is the energy that connects you to, whether you call them God, Allah, master, teacher, creator. It's the connection of energy that connects us back to our soul, tribal energy, back to our mother's mother. So it's a frequency. Get rid of old trauma. Get rid of the old trauma. If you tried something, let's say you try to have a business or you try to build your wealth or you try to open up that energy and it just didn't work out. Maybe the timeline was wrong. So try it again. Get ready because as we are in 100-year ascension, 2025 is about releasing old energy and it's about making movement and changes. So this is a time to really open that up. Number 3, create a financial area in your home as well where you can be able to raise vibration and energy by having crystals. I absolutely recommend clear crystal quartz because it's a high clear energy. It's a feng shui energy, and it's also a way to open up old traumas and clear out the old, the worn out. Also, number 4, never make a financial commitment during Mercury retrograde. By the way, Mercury's out of retrograde. We just got out of retrograde a little bit ago, about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever that was. I think right around April the 6th or 7th. So just very recently here. So this is a great time to do financial investments. But whenever you know Mercury retrograde comes around, I always say, stop, drop, and hold for those 4 to 6 weeks, because what that means is when Mercury is in retrograde, it means the planets are spinning backwards. And you want to be able to plant those seeds. Number 5, put a money tree in your house, maybe a bamboo tree, but always put it in your front foyer when you're walking in, whether it's your home or office, because that's really great to release energy that is blocking you. Another thing I highly recommend is to set your standards high. Number 6, that means connect with people who are financially wealthy, connect with people who are elevated. When you connect with lower vibration bottom feeder people, you become a bottom feeder person. So you want to clear out what we call the old, the worn out, and never ever stop believing in yourself, because can't doesn't exist in my world. The can, I am, and I will. You can make your life happen if you have 3 things: faith, trust, and hope.
Oh, I love that. Would you mind if I posted that out, like your 5 points? If I kind of share that with it, is that okay?
Absolutely. We want to share this vibrational conscience vibration to help people heal eternally and emotionally, and don't give up on your belief system. And that also goes for attracting love and keeping love. That also goes if you're wanting to have a family. Oh, also, if you're going through health issues, these are things that you can do. Open your mind, open your heart, meditate. I always say meditate in the morning when you wake up, meditate at night before you go to sleep. People say, oh, I don't have time. You could set aside 5 minutes a day to ground yourself, because it's very important these days to ground yourself and root yourself, and take a few minutes, minutes a day to go outside with nature, especially it's warming up out there. Get your feet in the ground, hug a tree, wear the color red. Red is a rooting and grounding color. And this is what I teach, my clients, whether they're calling in for a personal reading or calling into the podcast, the Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. Again, you can stream it anywhere, anyplace, anytime, but it's all about live, love, and laugh. And don't let negative people bring your energy down. But I do notice something that sometimes the more jealousy you have and the more people try to bring your energy down, the more luckier you become. Because listen, the truth of the fact is, this is a big one. And I bet you never heard this before, Caroline. Sometimes having a jealous person is great. I want you to applaud your jealousy, applaud your enemies, because that means you made it. That means you got something they want. You see a person who is failing and not succeeding. You're not applying them. You're applying the people who are elevated, vibrational, high frequency, energy people. That means you are in it to win it. And having that jealousy or people trying to, bring your energy down, it comes with a lot of work. It comes with a lot of effort, but do not give up. Do not give in. Can't does not exist, but it's true. When you have jealousy, it creates more energy, more vibration, and that's how the money flow comes in, because you got something they want. And you know what? You got to get ready to get ready.
Gosh, that's so true. That's great advice for folks. So instead of like fighting it and being
Don't
angry
fight it.
about it,
Go with it. Say you're ready. You're open. You're creative. Your vibration is so high that those lower bottom feeder people that are trying to bring your energy down, that means they don't have it. They're not getting it. They want to pull from you, take from you, suck it in, because they're too lazy to do it their own self. So they want to sometimes take what you got. But what the universe does is what we call a reverse transformation. It gives you the power to connect and go further and further and further. Any person, and I'm sure celebrities will tell you this, financial people who are in the industry, healers, doctors, lawyers, nothing ever comes easy. You got to put the effort and continue climbing that mountain. Don't use the word I can't. Change the intention to I can, I am, and I will. When you have your 3 A's, action, awareness, and acceptance, that's all you need. The action to do it, the awareness to be aware, and the acceptance to accept the things we cannot change and just move on.
yes.
Get her done.
Yeah, because you get those energy vampires too around you that just want to suck the life out of you too. I'm sure everybody has run into a few of those. I wanted to ask you about The Secret, because when people hear the word manifesting, they tie it to The Secret, when that came out a few decades ago. And most people, and I get those questions like all the time when we do shows like this, people think they can just think things and have them manifest. Maybe you can explain in greater detail how manifesting really works. It's more than just thought, right?
It is more than just thought, but I have to say, winner, winner, chicken dinner. You hit the green light, green light. That's exactly what it is. Your thoughts become what they are into reality, but you have to believe in that reality, that reality exists. So when you put that out there to the universe, whether you call it God, Allah, master, teacher, creator, I like to call it the committee. It's all, because again, we're all souls going through a temporary human experience. So it's all about connecting with your higher power, and the higher power, whether it be in God or spirit, whatever it may be. But when you connect with that, you set those intentions and do not give up or give in for manifesting. But manifesting goes way further back than The Secret. It goes back to Moses. It goes back to the biblical times, because they had a vision, they had a dream, or they felt something, or spirit showed them something, and they went with it. That's manifesting. So your spirit is calling you, and your spirit is leading you forward to become bigger, better, stronger, more in connection. But you have to filter out all those weeds. And that's what I like to call myself, as a human weed whacker, to help people clear out that energy and give them what I call a Deborah Graham enema to heal. That's literally what it is, because I help them energetically bring all of those emotions up to the surface, whether it's something trauma they dealt with from a past life, or whether it's childhood trauma. A lot of us don't want to deal with it. And most of us all just want a quick fix. Well, I'm here to tell you nothing happens overnight and there is no quick fix. And if somebody told you they had the power to snap it and make it happen, no offense, it's not going to happen. Okay. I'm honest. The truth is, when you were born, it took you 9 months to come into this earth. You have to let things happen. There's a season, a reason, and there's a beginning and an ending. So when you end the old, you're bringing in the new. And it's all about positive transformation. But if your brain is holding on to that emotion, then you're not going to move forward. So the part of manifesting is let go, let spirit lead you, and then tie that energy in to what your belief system is, and then create that energy in your mind and take your future and bring it to the present like it's already happened. That is manifesting.
Brilliant. What, out of those 6 examples that you gave us, what's the one that people struggle with the most?
Letting go. They just won't get out of their own way. I mean, that is probably the number one thing that they're still holding on to, financially being not where they want to be. And that's all they know how to do is whine. So I teach them, don't whine about it. Live in the power of creating that and letting go of those old fears. Pull off those band-aids, release them, start all over again. Press the reset button. This is what I say: delete, cancel, clear. That's a high frequency energy to create new beginnings and new energy, because anyone who's ever been a success, they have to keep on keeping on. Let's go back to, the Apple phone. Let's go back to, Microsoft, all of these people. They had to build and build and build and build. And they had a dream, and
Right.
when they had that dream, they followed that dream. And that's the main key ingredient, is to let go of the blockages, because that's 99.9% of our problem is that we live on holding on to that. And even if it's in a relationship, let's just say you were married and your, spouse cheated on you. You can't get over that. Well, you know what? I believe, again, there's an ending and there's a beginning. Move on, plant those seeds, start all over again. You're wasting precious time, because we're not here for a long time. We're here for a damn good time.
So true. So folks don't need any special abilities to be able to manifest, right? Because I think most people struggle with the thoughts in their own head. They get these repeated negative thoughts that just don't stop. So what's your first tip that you could give someone to get those thoughts to stop? And why do we have them? So many negative, self-defeating thoughts.
Yeah, that's a great one. Number one, it's karma. Sometimes it's in our lineage, it's in our DNA. It's the way we were programmed from, being born between the ages of 0 to 7, because that's how our brain is programmed. Okay. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to move forward. You're not going to be this. You're not going to be that. So whether it's coming from mother, father, family, whatever it may be, sometimes we're programmed before we're even, let's say 13 years old. Do you get me? So you have to reprogram the brain. So the best way to do is to notice those blockages and write them down. Write them down. Look at your strong suits. What I always say is take a pen and paper, write down 5 strong suits. Like, what are your strong points in life? Like, you're going to say, okay, I'm a great listener. I'm very active. I'm very connected. Find those things. Or I'm a giver. Look at your 5 strong suits and then look at your 5 weak points. And what you'll do is you'll weigh them out, yin and yang. But then what you'll do is, after you write down those fears and emotions, as I say, those lower vibrational fears, those 5 things, take them and flush them down the toilet. Let go of the old, get rid of the negative, and start stepping in to your power. And as you wake up, you're stepping in and you're becoming more in line with yourself. And use the word, I can do it. And you should have that the first thing you see when you wake up and the last thing you see when you go to sleep. So you're setting those intentions, because if you go to bed very cloudy, as I like to say, then you're going to wake up very cloudy. So, another thing I tell people, get rid of things in your life that are no longer serving you. I don't care if they're places, things, if it's papers, clothing, or if it's someone. Literally release them, get rid of them, douche them out, get ready for the new energy, because everything happens for a reason and a season. And you don't want to have to keep repeating your life over and over and over. And that's part of listening to your own intuition, because that's your own abilities. We all have it. It's just some of us are more heightened than others. And you can learn how to develop it by just connecting with your third chakra, your Gita, because that is the connection of spirit. That is it.
Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays, like I had said to you earlier, a lot of folks are having, some serious financial problems. And I think it's hard for someone to be in a positive mind state while they're struggling with financial problems. So would you just tell them to switch that off, like get up tomorrow, start journaling, start manifesting, and just be patient with yourself? Of course, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think getting them out of their rut that they're in to the next level, from what folks are telling me, is the most difficult bridge to walk.
Absolutely. Well, let's go back to COVID. Okay. COVID
Yeah.
was a blessing and a curse for so many
Right.
people. Okay. But a lot of people seeing that their lives changed. They lost their jobs, they lost their
Oh,
homes.
gosh,
But you know what they did? They rebuild their self up. Now they're multi-zillionaires because now they came up with a product, or they started a podcast, or they started something online, and now they're making millions of dollars. So sometimes you got to get rid of the old you and the poor you in order for the new you to happen. So I do not believe in coincidences. I believe everything happens for a reason. So I'll give you a great example. As we know, a lot of people, in different, let's just say, certified jobs are losing their jobs, okay,
yeah.
in the government, okay, and their jobs are kind of like disintegrating. But what's happening is they're getting ready to start something new, something go bigger, go better. The old saying is go bigger, go better, or go home. So
Right.
I did have a few clients, obviously, that has lost their jobs, but they created something new and they're making more money. They're doing better. They're creating something bigger and better. And this shift that we're going through, my predictions is only going to last within this year. And I feel like things are going to start opening, and it's going to make for a better, stronger financial, all of us together, growing together. But unfortunately, it's almost like because of the energy fields. Now, this has nothing to do with political stuff in any kind of way. This has to do with the planets, the way they're in
Sure.
line, literally,
Right.
because the planets, the way that they've became in line for the first time in so many years. I mean, the energy is just like insane. It's actually changing the way our thought processes are. We're changing. It's kind of like we're going back to cavemen, how we became from cavemen into having homes and cars and telephones. So if we didn't have that change of energy and that change of vibration, we probably wouldn't have cell phones today. We might have not even have running water or electricity. So unfortunately, with change, great grief comes with that. And that's what we're going through, is 100-year ascension change as the planets are shifting into this new vibration. But as we go through this in 2025, as we hit up into 26, that's going to open up the financial vibration. So people are not feeling so overwhelmed and overstressed. They're going to find their creativeness. This is their time to really wake up and say, hey, what do I really want to be when I grow up? Because I think a lot of people have settled into their jobs. And I think a lot of people just kind of went into a career, or maybe even went to school to do something that they really didn't want to do, but they did it because they thought, well, this is going to be the best outcome financially. And maybe now that's not what has happened for them. So now they're actually able to reconnect with their inner child, that 3-year-old inner child, to really reset the energy and reset the vibration and say, I'm going to start something all over again. You actually have a second chance to start again.
That's such a great point. It's funny because I think when it comes to manifesting wealth, a lot of people feel guilty about it, especially folks that are more like religious, because
Right?
they were taught that it's not good to be greedy and to want things for yourself to manifest. What would you say to folks? Because I think that money itself carries this negative energy in and of itself. Like,
Well,
what would you
the
say
love
to?
of money could be the root of all evil if you allow it to be. Okay. But money is an exchange. Okay. Money is a give and a take. Okay. So when the flow of money is coming to you, the universe is giving you this so you can actually help others and help yourself. So as
Ab-
that financial comes, you're going to pay forward. I always say, go out there, pay forward. If there's somebody, if you're at the drive-through and there's somebody behind you, pay forward, buy a coffee. If you're going at Starbucks or wherever it is you're going to, Mickey D's, whatever it may be, buy the person that meal, because when you give a little, you get a lot. So again,
Absolutely.
it's an exchange with feng shui to bring that vibration and that energy, back to you. So again, I'm burping on the truth. It's coming in. So it's literally like, validation, confirmation that when you manifest that money, it's always about giving back and helping. So, whether you're, Christian and you're thinking, oh, I should not have this, or I shouldn't, get into that financial wealth. Well, the same thing. The churches need the money so they can keep the congregation going. So if you don't give, then the congregation doesn't get any bigger, So the same thing when you receive the money, don't forget to give back, give to your local, charity, give to, whether it's the March of Dimes or the Red Cross or wherever it is you're giving to, but find an organization, obviously, that you believe in that is legit. Obviously, be careful because, a lot of people are scamming right now, calling in and they're saying, I just had one call in the other day acting like they were with the police force or something else. And, you just know when it's not. So find that organization that you believe in and that you want to help them. Or if it's somebody you believe in and you want to help that person, well, help them, pay forward, do it. Don't be afraid to be like, oh, is that person going to use me? No one uses you. You allow people to use you. So
That's
when people
right.
say, well, that person used me or that person, took advantage. No, you allowed yourself. So I always say, what was the lesson and what did you learn out of it?
Oh, I love that too. Yeah, because helping your family members too can be a big thing. Because a lot of people have, trepidation about helping family members because, there's all these emotional dialogues going on all the time in families.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that can you sense when you do your readings, can you sense when someone has like an emotional or a financial block that's stopping them from manifesting these good things? And what does that look like to you?
It's always in the throat chakra. That's
Oh,
always their blockage because they're not speaking up.
ah,
They're not letting go and they're allowing fear to run their life. So instead of them riding the wave and running their life, they're allowing their fears to run their life. And it's always in the fifth chakra because they're either afraid of it, they're afraid if people are going to use them, they're afraid people's going to take advantage, or if you've helped a family member, it's a difference in giving to someone and there's a difference in being used. Okay.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I always say, help your friends, help your family, do the things that you feel good about. But if you feel that that person is constantly sucking your energy and you're not receiving anything back in return, then 9 times out of 10, you're allowing yourself to be used, and then you also ask yourself, well, what is my lesson? And what did I learn from that? So there's always a beginning and an ending. To me, there's always a silver lining at the end of the tunnel. To me, there are no problems. It's all about solutions. And it's all about, well, what was the lesson? What was I supposed to learn out of that? This could be a karmic contract from a past life. So maybe you have to pay forward with those karmic debts in this life in order to clear whatever it is that you have, right? Or it could be just that you're so afraid of being alone and you feel like I need to constantly give and give and give to others so people could like me. Well, if people only like you when you're giving them money and they're not there for you when you need them, then those are really not your true family.
And that hurts. That stings, emotionally when you find those things out.
But never give anything to somebody and never expect anything back. If you get it, great. That's wonderful. Well, that was just icing on the cake. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. But if you didn't get anything back, then that's okay because that's part of also your lesson learned is a lesson learned, and connecting to your spirit and your own intuition.
Do you feel that global shift that's taking place right now? So many people are becoming what we call more awakened, more aware. What's that like for you? What are you experiencing in terms of energy out there?
I'm feeling people's anger, just so you know. People's anger is coming out. That's the fifth chakra. That's them using their voice. I think that's great. And I think it's a lot of their emotions connecting to their third chakra, again, the Gita, and the fifth chakra is the voice. So that's the vibration. And because, see, again, I'm burping, it's coming up. It's a validation. And I'm noticing a lot of anger and almost more of people just wanting to like attack each other. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't work like that. You have to get down to the root core of why are you feeling vulnerable? Why are you feeling disconnected? Why are you feeling angry? But more people are becoming angry. So that's when I tell people go into meditation, ground yourself. If you could take 3 days off, no TV, no radio, no cell phones, go into the woods, man. Just literally go in the woods, set with nature, because God's love is free. God's love is all. God's love is ready for us. You just have to be ready to step into your power and allow the universe to give you what you need. But if you're not happy within yourself, chances are nobody's going to make you happy, even if you win the lottery. Some of the most unhappiest people are the people who win the lottery because
Yeah,
they
that's
have
so
so much, but no happiness from within.
right. Right. That's so true and so interesting. We hear about a lot of stories like that. People that have manifested wealth and then just became more unhappy and miserable than ever before, resulting in unfortunate, walking off the planet kind of thing. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, or somebody coming after them, you know what I'm saying? So this is what I say. Believe in yourself, set those standards higher, create a foundation that makes you feel good. Whatever that foundation may be, whether it's a charity foundation, whether it's helping somebody, whether it's giving back, but always have that space in your home, in your office where you could just go ground yourself and
Yes.
get rid of the loser magnet. Just get rid of the lower vibrational bottom feeder people, because anything and everything is a possibilities when you create that intention. But there's
Mhm.
just such heavy energy right now, but it's making people get out of their comfort zone. So to me, I think that's great. That's a wake up moment, and I think that sometimes people need to voice and let it out and scream, just whatever it is, whether they're holding on to something from their past, something that's happened, 25 years ago, or whether it's something they're dealing with right here, right now. But the
Mhm.
key ingredient is never blame others. Do not. That's like, that's like bad luck, man. That's bad energy coming at you. When you blame others, then you're holding on to their crap, right, girl? So you have to release that energy in order to really find your power and your energy from within and look at it. What was your lesson? Like, what are you learning through this? Because the universe shows us things every day, whether it's in visions, it's in dreams, whether it's something you've seen or said or something you read about, and you're like, I'm going to be there. That's how I manifested my TV show. One time I seen this TV show. I don't know if you've ever seen it back in the day. It was called Miami Ink. And it was like
Yeah.
almost like one of the first reality shows out there. And I looked and I said, I'm telling you, if they can make a reality show about ink, I know I'm going to have a reality show and I'm going to help people find their love and soulmate. And sure enough, 5, 6 years later, woo, winner, winner, chicken dinner. I was on the screen. I got my own radio show, TV show, was out there, and it was so exciting. But it was also like, uh-oh, I lost myself. I was like, had to ground myself. And most people are so excited that they're out there and they're like, wow, I have a TV show. I have, my own TV show and I'm stepping into my power. But my thing was, oh my God, I just lost my energy. I feel like I gave it to everybody. So I had to really set still and ground myself. When other people were really excited and like, oh my God, this is so exciting, I kind of had to take back my power and say, whoa, what did I just do? What did I just manifest? So I always say, be careful what you put out there. But as time went on, I didn't lose my energy. I continued working with my one-on-ones. I still do. And I always say, we're all the same. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're on the big screen or whether you're just somebody working at Waffle House or at Walmart. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. We're no different than each other. Nobody's any different. We're all connective energy. We're all electromagnetic force fields. We're just trying to find our way. And it's kind of like a roller coaster. It's the way I look at it. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but never stop believing. You got to keep going. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're fighting to get. Get out there, make it happen, and make a difference in your life so you can make a difference in other people's lives. That's what it's about. It's about giving back. Because really, think about it. When you're dead and gone, none of this exists anymore. Your house, your car, your bank account, all the things you got, they don't go with you. There's
No.
only two things you take is your soul and your memories. And that to me is more important. That's the silver lining.
I totally agree. I totally agree. What do you use the same strategies for love connections? Because I've watched a lot of your interviews and they were great.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on that. Um, are the same principles and practices applied to attracting your soulmate, say, so to
Yes
speak?
and no. Yes and no. Because there are a lot of people out there that are very needy, and a lot of people who are looking for love are looking for a needy person that wants to be needed and loved. So I try
Mhm.
to teach my clients not to feel that you have to be with somebody who's so needy, because I look at it this way. If they were not right before you got them, chances are they're not going to change
Right.
ever. So I teach them, there's so many silver linings there. But the one thing is, when you're out and you're on a date, I always teach them to have direct eye contact, because if that person is not having direct eye contact with you, then chances are that person is hiding something. And I don't care if it's a FaceTime call, a Zoom call, or whether you're seeing them in person. And I always try to get them to go out and meet that person within 3 weeks, whether it's via phone, computer, or whether they're seeing them. And then I try to get them to stay monogamous. That means you could love, you could touch, but don't put the lizard in the lily pad, or the lily in the lizard, or the lizard in the lily for 3 months. That means stay monogamous. That means no physical intercourse for 3 months. And
Yeah.
that's a big one. But guess what? 90% of my matches always worked out, because it's not based on a physical level, it's based on a spiritual level. And it's
Right.
based on connection and communication. So the strategies are similar, but in many ways very different, because
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, what you had before, like, for instance, with your soulmate, and I said it, your soulmate is your husband, and he's been right there behind you, girl. He's been walking. I'm telling you, he's literally behind you. He's been going back and forth the whole time,
Are you
right there beside you. I literally see a silhouette of his energy, and he's holding space. He was your soulmate. He was the love of your life, and he's always with you. He just wants you to look both ways when you're in the car the next 6 weeks. He says, keep your hands on the wheel, pay attention. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, very important. He's saying, and he's letting you know that you were his last, his everything, but he wants to thank you for the best. The last 5 years were really important to him. Okay. Because he really went through a lot of emotional stuff. He's speaking to me. And he said he uncovered a lot of deep rooted inner trapped emotions, especially childhood stuff. He's telling me this right now. And he said he overcame that by knowing that you were just there. And he wants to thank you for that.
Oh,
Okay. So that's important. This is very important. And he's with you and he's so proud of you. And he told me that he's opening up so many doors for you because he wants to
oh,
keep you busy. He does not want you to sit still. And he says you will write a book too. So I don't know if that's out on your agenda or what, but he said it's
I was
coming.
just talking about that yesterday.
There
Oh,
you go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. This is your husband. I'm giving you the message. And he said, I'm always here. Never forget our love. Never forget. Oh, you're going to hear songs, like songs that whoa, he's coming in. I hear him. He's like coming through the lines right now. Like, seriously, this is what you call deep and large. That's how they do. They come through electromagnetics. They do this all the time.
yeah.
Um, and he said the songs and the communications, the lights are going to go on and off. You're going to have songs come through, but he was your twin flame soulmate. And I
Oh
don't
God.
even know if you know what that is.
Oh yeah. And
Okay.
I agree to 100%. My whole life has been. I feel like my DNA changed after he died.
It did, because you know what? He had to die for you to start living your life. That sounds crazy what I said, but it's
Yeah.
like he had to die in order for you to step into your power. This is what it's about. It's not the end, it's the beginning to what will be a fresh new start. And as you're going, one door's, going to close, another door's going to open, 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 open. So it's almost like you have the master key. You can do anything you want right now. And he says that your heart will always be connected with him. He said, even though there'll be another person coming through, but he's going to be just a for now, not a forever. No more marriages, no more rings, nothing. That was it. But you will have a connection. There will be a soul that's going to come in your life, a male energy coming in that actually he's channeling in. He's bringing him to you.
He already did.
There
And,
you go.
and it's interesting because I needed that person more than ever because being alone scared the you know what out of me.
I get you. I get
It
you. But
really,
he brought him. He brought him. So he's
yeah,
he's 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 husband approved. Okay. So that's great. Okay. But like I said, your husband was your forever. This man is
yeah,
your for now. But this is the person you're going to grow with. You're going to travel with. You're going to go places with. He actually says it's a different kind of love that you had with him, because the love that you had with your husband was like an unconditional love. You just knew he was there and you knew if you fell, he would catch you. This is exciting. This is exhilarating. This is like exhilarating. Like your energy is just like a little girl in a candy shop. It's kind of different.
Very different. Very
Would you
different.
agree?
100, you nailed it right on the head. It's interesting that you can read, and I love the psychics that have the ability to do that. I've spoken to a few. The fact that you can read someone through the internet and through electronics is just brilliant. And I
Even
love,
through their voice, even through their voice. I don't even need to see them. I can just communicate. That's what I do on the radio show, or I do it when I'm live on the air. What people are calling me from New Zealand, Australia, Beijing, all over the world they call. It's an energy. And when I tap into their energy, it's like it's like electricity, it's like fire in the hole.
yeah. Yeah, grief is a lot. The thing I appreciate is more and more people are talking about it on the internet, how to deal with it, how to cope with it. And it's almost where it does transform your essence, your DNA. It truly does. And when you get confirmation, knowing that beloved person, whoever it is, your mom, your dad, your husband, is always like a spirit guide with you.
Right.
And it's very comforting to know that that's not the end.
It's not the end, because you're going through different portals. I'll give you a little example. About 3 weeks ago, my sister-in-law recently passed away. Okay.
Oh,
So she caught the flu back in December. Okay. And, it's like everybody else. You catch a flu, you think you're going to get better. She did have some heart disease, but nothing serious. Right.
Yeah.
So she just, never really got better 100% until she finally went to the doctor. So, of course, my niece tells me that she's in the, hospital, blah, blah, blah. But, they're giving her oxygen, they're giving her antibiotics, they're doing stuff, and she should be fine. Hopefully they'll let her go in the next week or two. Well, I would say her higher self came to me in a dream, in a vision, whatever you want to call it, and said, I need to cross over. And I'm like, what? In this dream, what are you saying you got to cross over? And I'm like, you're telling me you want to die? She says, no, I want to live. And I was like, okay, so something's up. So I got in the car and I drove 700 miles to go up there to see her. Went in the hospital, and I looked at her and I said, this doesn't feel right. She was getting like to the point where she was incoherent. She wasn't speaking because all the toxins in her body. I mean, she was going through liver failure, kidney failure,
Terrible.
lungs, everything. It was just one of those things that happened to the flu, and it caught her and it got her. And she was young. She was in her 60s. So long story short, I said, so this doesn't make sense. She called me to come to her to help her. I'm like, this does not make any sense. I'm like, okay, well what's going to go on here with her? Long story short, I was going to leave and go back home the next day. The car was fine. It drove fine. It was perfect. I put the car in drive to go forward. We stopped at like a coffee shop, and the car would not go forward. I mean, for 30 minutes, we're like, this is weird. I said, well, Spirit's telling me not to leave. There must be something going on here. So I decided to stay, decided to go back to the hospital the very next day, because I was going to be leaving to go home, because basically, the doctors are saying, well, we're trying to figure out what to do. But at this point right now, her body has to kind of like start working itself. I walk in the room right away. She woke her eyes up. She started speaking. The nurse freaked out, said she hasn't spoken in almost whatever it was, 3 weeks that she was in there, whatever that timeline was. And they thought that I was on the phone speaking to somebody, and it was her. And she opened her eyes. And she said, I need to go, and I need to go now. Well, the gist of this conversation is when you make up your mind to leave this earth and you are ready to go, Spirit takes you. And I said, so you're telling me you want to live, but you want to live on the other side. I said, you want to be with your mom and dad. She shook her head. Yes. I said, what are we going to do without you? She said, I'm going to be okay, but I need to go. So I said, you want me to tell your family that you want them to release you? She said, yes. Long story short, I said to the nurse, do you hear this? Because I don't want to take all this stress over me and have to go tell the family. I need you to come with me. Because, of course, they're waiting for her to get better.
Sure.
The nurse start crying. Now, of course, she's an ER nurse. She's done this, all the time. And we went and we told them. And 2 hours later, she passed away peacefully. Can you believe that? So what I'm trying to get to is when the day it's written, you're born, the day it's written, you're going to die. It doesn't matter whether it's a flu or you fall down or whatever accidents happen in our life. But when you make a conscious decision in your heart, your soul, your body, your mind, your spirit, whatever it may be, and you're ready to release this earth and you're ready to go and know that you have completed your karmic contract and you've made peace with yourself, you are ready to live, because living is not dying. Living is living always. Okay. It's like your soul is always alive. And, that, whether you call it crossing over, that, leaving this world, it's not dying, it's living, it's growing, it's connection. And that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to cross over. So literally, I helped her spiritually, helped her make that decision. That was probably one of the hardest things I did. And then I ended up doing her makeup for the funeral because, of course, she started channeling with me, just kind of like how your husband wouldn't shut up while I was talking and doing these things. And I was like, I'm going to get to you, but just hold on a minute. She started speaking and she absolutely did not like her makeup for the funeral. And I kept telling the funeral director, she doesn't like her eyeshadow. She doesn't like this. She doesn't like that. And I said, you guys need to put more contouring on her. And they looked at me and they said, well, if she wants it, then you tell her you're going to have to do it yourself. And they threw the makeup at. I am not joking. I swear.
Oh my.
I've never done that in my life. I don't even know if legally they should have let me do that because, I've never touched, a body in a coffin like that. But you know what? I got through it. And she channeled me and she looked beautiful. Okay. And I am not a makeup person at all. I don't know how to do makeup barely on myself, but it's like spirit just led me. And you just got to sometimes go with it. You got to listen to your gut. And she just channeled what she wanted and we did it and made her happy and at peace and she crossed over. So that's what life is about. Life goes on even after death. And it's not about dying. It's about living. And that's what it's about. It's about living and growing and just becoming aware of your spirit and who you are and what you came here to learn.
Absolutely. What do you think about, we're hearing a lot, and I've interviewed so many people that have had powerful near-death experiences, what we call NDEs. What's your take on that whole thing?
I feel like spirit is telling us to learn more, grow more, trust more, and go through these experiences so we could come back and tell other people not to be afraid and know that there's another world out there and there's many, many realities and portals and there's many rooms. Because when you cross over, there's so many different rooms that you go through and you enter. There's a waiting room. There's a room where you meet your family. There's a room where you meet your inner child. There's a room where you meet your spirit guides. There's a room where you go to school and you learn. So each room takes you to a different level until you get to the divine energy. And I believe that we go through a review of our lives on what we learn. It's kind of like the book of life. So when we do cross over, we have to learn this lesson to come back to basically grow, come back again, redo it again. That's what's called, kind of like a past life. Or you complete everything on this earth and learn what you need to learn, and then you get to cross over.
Yeah, because we're hearing, I guess people aren't afraid to talk about their NDEs anymore. They're being a lot more open about them. So it seems intentional. Like it's a comfort. I find the stories very comforting when I hear them, because largely I would say like 99% of them are very positive and upbeat. And some people have like detail of where they said it felt like it was years, but in reality was like 20 seconds or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Because time on earth and time in heaven is two different parallels. Right. Okay. So, in heaven, it's like, like 20 seconds, like you said, a minute. Okay. So like, for instance, when you cross over and you're going to make it to your 90s, so you're not going anywhere anytime soon, just so you know, I have to put that out there, but it's going to be when you reconnect with your soulmate, your husband, your partner, your forever, because you are twin flames. And it means your souls will reconnect back together in the afterlife. It means that it's going to feel like it just happened. It's going to feel like there was no time passed. Like, okay, I can't explain it to you. It's just like this energy. It's like a perfect piece that was missing to a puzzle just kind of went together.
Brilliant. Do people that are single nowadays, like I have so many friends around my age that have either been through divorce or widowed, whatever the situation was, and they give up. They just don't want to take the time and energy to put in to meet someone new. And they have like one person I'm thinking of in particular, she's always negative about having a man in her life. And I try to tell her that that's what she's manifesting, because she talks about it so much too. Is that just a fear-based reaction because they had a bad divorce, went through a bad experience?
They're
Like,
not
what?
ready. They're not ready. That's
Right.
exactly what it is. When the soul is ready, the soul will find the love in a relationship. When the soul is ready, the soul will leave this earth and, live on the other side. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like when you're ready, you're ready. Okay. And when they're talking about meeting somebody or wanting to meet somebody or wanting to connect with somebody, but they're not doing anything. So I'll give you a great example. This is a perfect example. So it's kind of like people saying, I'm going to let go and I'm going to let God. I love that example. And I truly live, eat, sleep, breathe it. But you also have to understand that God puts people in our lives at the right place at the right time. So it's kind of like that story, please don't quote me on it exactly the way it went, but that man that had been on top of his roof, the old story is a boat went by and said, come on in the boat because you're going to flood and you're going to die. So come on in. He says, no, I'm waiting on God. A plane went by. Same thing. He said, I'm waiting on God. Well, long and behold, he died. And he said, well, what the F happened? What happened? God said, heck, I sent you a boat, a plane,
That's
a train,
right.
whatever. You didn't do it. So the reality is, yes, let go, let God, but step into your power to
Right.
allow whoever that is, the universe, or you're meeting somebody, or you're just going to a Starbucks and you're sitting outside at a coffee shop, any local coffee shop, and just putting yourself out there, or going to local events. I always tell my clients when they're trying to meet up or connect with somebody, dress up and show up. I don't care if you're invited or not invited, just go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Tuesday, it's 6 o'clock, it's happy hour, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And you don't have to have an alcoholic drink. You could just
Right.
get, a lime and, soda water,
Right.
and just be out there. And you know what? When you're meeting people, you might know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. But if you're just keeping yourself under that roof, or you're burying your head in the ostrich, like an ostrich in the sand, and you're not letting yourself go, then that means that you're holding on to old traumas. So you got
Yeah.
to let that old trauma go. You can't bury your head in the sand like an ostrich.
What do you do for self-care and self-love? Like, what's your ritual like?
My ritual is love. I wake up in the morning and I just raise my hands up in the air and I say, thank God. Thank God I have another day brighter, another day stronger. And then I pray for the world. I pray for peace. And I just say, okay, let's get ready to get ready. There are no problems. There are only solutions. I never look at a problem. I always look at a solution.
Yeah.
And my ritual is stay in the moment. Don't let anything stop you. And never use the word can't. Can't doesn't exist. I am, I can, and I will. I can't, I am. Like, you're not going to say can't, you're going to say can. So it's always a reverse transformation. But my main ritual is waking up and knowing that I still got my head attached to my body, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one.
That's what we call deep and large.
Yeah. Do you meditate, obviously? So you
I'm
have.
meditating all day long, trust me, okay?
Yeah.
Whether I'm in prayer, whether I'm meditating, manifesting, whether I'm doing energy healing, or whether I'm just praying, or whether I'm going to church, to me, I don't believe in one religion. I mean, I am Orthodox Greek, but I believe in all religion, right? So I don't narrow it down to like you have to go to church to believe in God. God is our heart, God is in our soul. You could go pray outside in your backyard, but when you give it to God, and you always thank the universe, whether you pray to your angels, God, and teacher, but really live in the moment. And we say this every day. We're going to take every day like it's our last. We're going to do it. But then you wait 2 years to do it. Well, you just wasted 2 years. So do it now.
Right. That's so true. Yeah, because I think when people develop good habits of self-care, whether it's listening to music, taking that, even if you're working 9 to 5, come home, take some time for self-love and self-care. So
Right.
meditate, play music, whatever that is. It might be a phone call with your best friend, whatever you need for that moment. Now, what kind of work do you do with crystals? Because I'm just starting to I've always had them in my house, but I'm starting to get a deeper interest in them. What do you recommend for folks to start, like doing some crystal spiritual work, some
Okay,
healing?
like for instance, what do you feel your blockage is right now? What are you trying to manifest? And I'll tell you a couple of different ones. Like for instance, rose quartz is for self-love and unconditional love.
Okay.
We spoke about clear crystal quartz, so that's clear intention. So you're able to manifest wealth and health. That's very important. If you're needing to feel like you need to be rooted and grounded into the earth, I always say malachite because that actually is a rooting and grounding crystal, believe it or not. If you're trying to protect yourself, as we call it in Greece, the evil eye, the Maya, I always recommend a tiger's eye, citrine. Um, if you're trying to vibrate the energy in the home and just try to like release old trauma, or you're trying to work on your own psychic abilities, that would absolutely be amethyst. Amethyst is used for the intuition, the psychic abilities, and just opening it up. And of course, don't forget about selenite, because selenite is kind of like a universal remote control.
Mm,
Selenite goes with all the crystals because it kind of magnetizes them, and it just keeps the energy flowing.
nice.
And another thing I like getting is the salt, the Himalayan salt lamps, and
Yeah.
just putting them. And I don't know if you've ever noticed these before. Some of your listeners have, where you get those salt lamps, and if there's something negative, those things just start dripping. They drip like the salt water.
I love them things.
Okay. And if they start dripping, that means you either have a negative encounter, somebody's negative energy came in, and that salt lamp just sucked it
Oh,
in.
I didn't know that.
And then
That's
it
good.
starts dripping. Yeah, because it's actually absorbing it. And you got to understand, salt is a clearer, it's a cleanser,
Yes. Right.
and it cleanses and it heals. So
Yes,
that's really what the salt lamps are there for.
absolutely. Do you wear crystals and have them around your home,
I
or
always do I have them around my home? If you look in the back right there, you see that big chunky monkey back there? That thing weighs about, probably every bit of 1,500 pounds.
it
Okay.
looks huge?
And that is a rose quartz. That is an
Nice.
uncut rose quartz. Yeah, I have them everywhere. I have from amethyst. I have a big cave in my office. I have Tibetan crystals from Tibet. I have clear
Nice.
crystal quartz. Oh no, because you got to understand, and I cut and channel all my crystals. So if anybody wants to get a crystal, they could go to psychicdeborahgraham.com, because I do have a shop, and I actually channel and cut all my crystals. And each crystal is specifically for your needs. So for instance, if somebody ends up getting a crystal and they need to have a clearing, we're gonna set those intentions so you're able to have that crystal charged already for your specific needs
Oh,
for
right.
whatever it is that you're needing. So
Good.
it's a little extra, what I would say, spiritual blessing and vibration going on there. But at the same extent, yeah, I have crystals always. Oh yeah,
Awesome.
you got to think about it. It's the next thing oldest to the earth. I mean, they were here before man was. I mean, and their vibration, their energy, they work. They're
I think
healers.
I totally believe that now, but I think the challenge for me personally, and I think a lot of the listeners too might be experiencing this. I'm a Catholic. I love my Jesus,
Praise
and
God. Praise Jesus.
a lot of people have a difficult time bringing in things like crystals, and because they feel that it goes against their religious beliefs. Like, I went to Catholic schools. I was raised that all this stuff is woo woo and mumbo jumbo. Of course, I don't. I mean, look what I'm doing. So obviously, I've gotten past that. But when it comes to things like crystals and stuff, how do you bridge that gap between your guilt as a religious person?
Well, if you sit there and think about it, and not that I'm getting religious here, because I am religious,
I
but
ask.
I believe in all, and it's a fact here. Religion was made by man. God did not create religion. God is all. God is one. God is light. God is love. God is power. So it does not matter what religion you are. All religions connect together. Okay. And again, if you're connecting, whether it's Orthodox, whether it's Catholic, and I went to Catholic Greek school. So it's like, part of the time I was in Catholic school, part of the time I was in Greek school, so it just kind of went together. But again, it's about going back to the basics and connecting with the earth. So crystals is earth. So it's almost like, I can't believe in the earth. Well, didn't God create the earth?
Exactly.
So it's earth energy. So it's all God's energy. It's all vibrational energy. So it's not, see, we're programmed. We're programmed to
Exactly.
believe a certain way. Like, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. So it's almost like you're thrown in to a religion that maybe you do connect with, or maybe you don't connect with, because as a child, you see, you take your kids to church and they don't really know at a young age, but you're teaching them God. And that's
Exactly.
great. That's wonderful. And I believe that everybody should learn about the power of God, whatever religion you're learning, whatever religion. And the older you get, you're going to diverse to what religion makes you feel connected.
Right.
Myself, I believe in all religions. I
See, I
believe in
feel
all
that
religions
too. I think
because
we're
it's
all
all God's energy and it's all your way of connection.
100%. I totally am on board with you there.
Yeah, I've
That's why
studied everything. And this is a big one. Did you know that
yeah,
voodoo was once a religion back in the day?
yes, I did hear
Yeah.
about that, right.
I've
What it
I've
morphed
studied everything
into
you could imagine.
right. See, it morphed into something a little more maniacal,
Right.
which, is concerning. But again, if you're into voodoo, you're into
And
I'm not
that's why you want to protect, not our thing. We don't connect with that, but it
exactly.
depends what your belief system is, so
Exactly.
it depends what you're connecting to, whether you're, connecting to Buddhism, you're connecting to Catholicism, you're connecting to Judaism. It's all connective energy. We're all spirits going through a temporary human experience. But when you're connecting to these multi religions, that's fine. You could go 1 week to a Buddhist. Why
I,
not go
I
to Catholic 1 week? If
do
you want to
that.
go 1 week to, a Christian, go. There's nothing wrong. You go where spirit calls
Take
you. And wherever
right.
spirit calls you, that's where you go.
That was so beautifully said. I couldn't agree with you more. I think we're all one, and it's so sad to see the state of the world today with so much separation and
Mm.
dichotomy between religions. It's just,
It's hard. It's hard, but it's all in the Bible if you sit there and think about it. It's all there because it goes back to biblical times, but we're reliving biblical times again. We're re
absolutely
we're reliving them. You're like, could that really happen? Could we really have a spiritual war going on in the Middle East? Well, guess what? It happened. It's there and it's in the Bible. It talks about it. So,
yep.
it's there. It's what spirit is learning us how to grow, how to connect, how to be connected, and how to release. And you have to release fear. And that's what it all goes to. It's all about fear-based energy.
Gosh, that's so true. Fear is the mind killer. It's interesting when we first started talking, you were talking about auras, and you had said that I was like the black sheep of the family, and that's so true. And so you nailed that, like out of the gate. You
I
nailed that
seen it.
right out
Spirit
the
showed
gate.
it to me because you're different from the rest of your family. You're not like
Yeah,
the same grid.
that was a
You're like
struggle.
an alien, girl.
My husband used to tell me that all the time. He would say to me, Carol Ann, you're not from this planet. Like, well, I
Yep.
don't know where you're from, but God, you nailed it again. That's crazy.
It's
But
spirit.
and I think a lot of people in a position like mine, who's different from maybe they have a super religious family and they're not that way. I think it's important for them to know that it's okay. Like whatever you believe and you feel speaks your truth, that's the path you should walk. Like
It's the power of now. That's
right.
exactly what it is. If you take all the I am ready, I am whole, I am perfect, I am complete, like so many people speak about that goes back to the Bible. I
Yes, it
am
does.
goes back to the Bible. Okay. But each person used it in a different way. So their I ams might be different than the Bible's I ams, but it's basically the same I am. Okay.
Right.
And when
Right.
you're connecting with the power from within. And when you're connecting collectively and spiritually, you're connecting to your what I call God's box. And when you connect to that vibration, all of that is a oneness. And that's what this earth energy is about because it's
Yeah.
shifting. We're a big, huge planet, going in the middle of the universe, and we're just floating. So it's like you want to get to that vibration where you don't feel heavy. I always tell a lot of people that when they're meditating, meditate like you're out of the earth and you're in space and you're in a
Mhm.
non-gravity field because most people can't quiet their mind and they
Right.
can't just shut it off and, just be like, I can't meditate. I don't know how to meditate. How do I meditate? I got so much to do in my brain. Well, I'm ADD. I'm the first to admit it. And I'm proud of it because that's my empathic energy. So I don't want
Right.
to change it. I want to be that, but I
Right.
want to learn how to clear my thoughts. So I just put myself in a meditational stage and just think of yourself like a concentration energy, like leaving from your physical body, going into space and just thinking yourself as just being lightweight, like you're just floating. Or, think of yourself in a body of water, weightless. That's
Yeah,
meditation.
that's a good one. What was it like for you growing up? When did you discover, at what age, that you had these abilities? You said it
Oh
was
my
in the
gosh,
family,
6
right?
years old. Yeah, I was around
Wow.
6. I just started having premonitions. I started seeing things. I started having visions, start seeing dreams.
Wow.
When I was very young, I had somebody running after me, all dressed in white. Of course, you're thinking, this is Jesus running after me. And he's all in white. And he said, do not fear me, for I am the Son of God. He grabbed my left hand and he made a figure 8. It looked like as if it was a tattoo, like a scabby
Mm.
tattoo in this dream. And he says, you need this for protection. Well, of course, I woke up screaming out of a nightmare, what I would call. But that's when my visions just started. And because I did come from a very clairvoyant family, it wasn't boohooed. They never were like, oh, you're crazy. We're taking you to a psychiatrist. You're going to the psycho world. Wasn't like that. So the older I became, the more stronger. Of course, like I said, you start seeing visions that are scary. Like you would see, spirits, or you would speak to dead people that you never met before, but you would tell your mom what this person looks like. And oh, by the way, I was speaking to my great grandfather or my great grandmother or whatever it was, this really weird stuff, or speaking to my grandfather who I never met. So when you're young and you're a baby, and when you're firstborn, whatever the first 2 to 3 months, how you're like your eyes are moving and you're laughing. Those are the angels playing with you, because
Mm.
we're still, for that first year, we're still caught between the spirit world and the physical world. So the angels come and play with us to keep us company and busy, because you're having dreams or visions and you're feeling that love. And then sometimes they get a little afraid, because where there's good, there's bad. So you always know that there's going to be a positive and a negative, but it's children are so clairvoyant. Oh my
Oh,
God. And these Starseeds children, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. I mean, that's like a whole different show right
oh,
there, just talking about that. I mean, they're so elevated these days. Children are not like they were before. They're like, wow,
now.
they're like on a different frequency.
Yeah, I met a starseed child. I couldn't believe it. It blew me away, but I knew she was one. And you're right, they're more prevalent now than ever before. So,
Yeah.
so at what age did you, like, how did you bring those abilities into? I mean, I'm assuming you're married, right?
Yep.
You
Been
have.
married to the same man for over 30 some odd years, 40 years. And we were matched. What I mean by that is an arranged marriage.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, absolutely. So I met my husband. My mom actually did the like matchmaking thing, or as you call it, the ceremony, like the uh arranged marriage, if you would.
Yeah.
And of course, I was like, I'm not getting married. I don't want to be married. Are you talking about me marrying this guy? Nope, I'm not doing it. Of course, she tried to do it several times. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. And then finally she said, you're going to go move in with your aunt. Sure enough, she did. And a couple of weeks later, not even a month later, I was like, whoo, I don't want to end up like my aunt. God bless her. She passed away now. But, she stood home. She never was married, never had any kids. And I said, I don't want to be like that one day. So
Yeah.
I winded up getting
Ah,
engaged, and 6 months later, here we are. We got 3 kids and 4 grandkids,
wow.
4 grandchildren and 3 children. And, like any marriage, there's a good day, there's a bad day, but we get along really well, because I'm very straightforward. He's very straightforward. If we have our situation, we don't hold it in. We tell each other the way we feel, whether it's good or bad or ugly, and we just work through it. And, it's what it is. But I think a lot of it had to do with my childhood, because my mom and dad never fought, like never fought, like
Wow.
ever. No, they just didn't. My mom worked, because she was actually a psychic as well, very well renowned as well. God rest her soul. She's passed away over 20 some odd years ago now, like 30 years. And my dad passed away over 5. But I will tell you that they always connected together. And even if they had an argument or a disagreement, they would never do it in front of the kids. Like never. That was just like, no, not happening. So we never grew up watching our mom and dad argue. So I think that's what based my family and my home, showing, me and showing my kids that, look, you have a problem, you have a situation. There's no problems. There's only solutions. You work through it, but you never get to the point where you can't handle something. Sometimes you walk away from a situation because you're like, well, I got to figure this out, because
Yeah.
sometimes people react too quick, too fast. And I think that sometimes when people do that, they may say things, and that's when text messages get a little crazy. A lot of that happens in my dating world. Um, and that's part of just opening up that parallel of energy, but listening to your gut. It all goes back to the Gita. I don't care what chakra you're connecting with, what energy, what vibration, it's always the third chakra.
Wonderful. How did your husband handle your abilities? Did he get freaked out at first, or what was that?
Of course, because but he knew what I did before, he married me, and it wasn't like there was no like, I'm not changing who I am, I'm not changing what I do. I'm a psychic, I'm a medium. This is who I am. I'm not changing my name, I'm not changing my brand. This is who I am. You could take it or leave it. And of course, it's worked out. I mean, heck, we're still here together.
That's wonderful.
That's my soulmate,
Yeah.
Even though there's days I love him and there's days I hate him. I mean, like anybody else. I mean, we're human, it's a good day and a bad day. But the reality is that we always work through it, no matter what the situation may be.
And that's
because we're two very strong personalities.
Right.
He's Irish, I'm Greek. So, yeah.
That's the key right there, though. Just, have the fortitude to work through.
And, work on your belief system and knowing that there is no impossibilities. It's like fishing. It's not called catching, it's called fishing. You catch one fish, throw it back in. If you don't like it, if you want it, you bring it in the boat. If you want to catch a bigger one, the old saying is leave that boat out with that pole in the water, because it's going to draw more fish. That's what energy is about. Sometimes you got to have one on the hook, talking about a relationship, in order for this another one to come in. So sometimes you got to go through a few good ones, a few bad ones to get to the right one.
I like that. It's not called catching, it's called fishing. That's great.
Absolutely.
So true. It's funny how these little antidotes can just click in your head.
It's a trigger. It's like, okay, I got this. But it's true. Anything in life it's a waiting. It's a waiting. And excuse me again, I'm burping again. Woo, it's coming up strong, girl. It's all about patience. And I feel like that's where you're at right now in your relationship. I feel like you're going through this patient energy, and you're reflecting on who you are and what you need to do and how your lessons are learned. And this is just a new relationship. And that's what I always talk about on the podcast, the Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. It's about love and relationships and finding that partner. And I think you've done really well for yourself that you were able to connect with somebody who is a true, loving, kind-hearted soul. And somebody who really wants to take a ride with you, not on you, because when you were younger, you married your husband, so you were willing to make changes in different things. But when you get older, we get stuck in our ways. We don't want to change. You can't change your old dog, new tricks. So the great part is he doesn't change, you don't change, you just complement each other. So I think it's a win-win. Would you agree?
You nailed that 1,000% on the head, because we're happy. Like, he's got his life and house, I've got mine, and we're good. We just complement each other in so many ways. And I talk to Joey all the time, and I was told by another psychic that Joey said this person, and you validated that. So I
right away, he showed me. He said, whoo, I drawed him in. He went. He bring right to you. He came right into your energy. And your husband, he'll come sometimes, from now and then, he'll come as a cardinal. He'll come as that red bird.
I like that. I saw a bird, and I always wonder if that was him, because in this community where I live, there's a lot of trees and forests, and I've never seen a hawk. I've just never seen one flying around. One day I'm walking my dog, and I see this huge hawk. Deborah, it was huge. It wasn't like I forget the name of it because I did research it. And I looked up, and I see this hawk staring down at me, just staring at me intensely.
Yes.
Joe?
That's him. That was him. He came as a bird. He'll come as a bird. He'll come as a hawk. He'll come as a cardinal. He'll come as a red one. That's his energy. Like Laura, when she passed away, she came to me as a bee. It was the funniest thing. At the funeral, there was this big black bee that came right near me. Now, of course, normally I would freak out and be like, I'm running for my life because I don't want the bee to bite me, because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to end up blowing up. But I looked at it, and it's like its eyes popped out, and I looked. No. This is serious. Like, everybody in the family seen it. There was like 30 people there. They looked at me. I said, oh my God, Laura, is that you? That's you. Oh my God. The bee, if I moved left, it moved. It I went this way, and it stood like 5 feet away from me. So it didn't intimidate me. But
Mm.
if I moved, it moved. And it just was like talking to me. It was the craziest thing. I was like, wow, she's a bee. She's a bee. I said, she's a bee. That's it. And she's coming. I said, girl, we got you. You're good to go. Go have peace. Go have love. We'll see you on the other side when the time's right. And, don't stop giving us the messages. And we know you're here. We know you're here. And then they closed her up and boom, she went down. Now it gets crazy. Wait, now this is deep. So then
Yeah.
later that day, have you ever been, I call it Boosie's, but I think it's called the thing. Oh my God, what's the name of that place? I cannot, the kids call it Boosie's. It's basically like a Walmart grocery store. Bucky's. There you go, girl. Bucky's. But I call it Boosie's. So we went in there and we went to go make a potty break to get myself back home. Cause this all happened and I drove, 700 miles, 800 miles to get there from Florida to Georgia. Long story short, paying at the counter. What do I see? A candle with all bees all over it. I said, I'm going to get this and I'm going to burn this candle every day for you for 9 days. So you're always in the light. That was my sign. Literally that same day as leaving from the funeral, driving back home, I see a candle with bees. So that was my, as I would call it, my own confirmation, validation, knowing that was her soul speaking. Isn't that amazing? So you got to always pay attention to those signs.
You never see candles with bees on them.
It was crazy. And they weren't just bumblebees. They were the big black ones, the big black, not the yellow jackets, the big black bumblebees,
Yeah,
the big ones.
Wood bees, I think they're called, because I see them out. They have
with the big little eyes were coming out. I was like, that was crazy. It was insane. So that's how our loved ones communicate with us. They have to, because they can't come and just talk to us as me and you are talking here. Yeah. They have to come in a different way. So that's another thing I'll teach my clients is how to communicate with their loved ones on a different level. It's not connecting with them in the physical level. It's connecting with them in the spiritual level.
Yeah, because for the first like two and a half years before Joey died, we had an agreement that whoever passed first would give a sign. So I was getting nothing. And I was so hurt by that. So
just because he had to climb. He had to climb. It took him time.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
Because then I saw this hawk and I'm like, that's got to be.
Yeah, he's the bird. He's the bird. He'll start coming through even more. How long ago since he's passed on?
About 3.5 years now.
Yeah, it takes them long sometimes because they have to go through transition. And sometimes they'll come in just like that. It just depends, Yeah. But he's been doing little things for you. He brought this man to you. He's opened up this door for you with your career. So he's been doing stuff. Those are your signs, girl. I've got to tell you the truth. He's been doing it.
Yeah, I feel that too. I think you're 100% right about that. Yeah. It's funny because sometimes I hear stories about people that have passed and have given signs that like are as clear as a bell, like you couldn't miss it. So I think my expectations kind of exceeded the reality of what maybe he was capable of doing,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the door opens. Like I say, one door closes, another door opens, but it's all connecting with that spirit. So whether you're, connecting with a, unknown energy, or you're connecting with a spirit, or you're connecting with your animal spirit, you just got to connect with your own vibration in order to connect with people on the other side.
Absolutely. I like that. Because a lot of people, we've done a lot of shows on how to connect to your angel, your guides.
Yes.
And a lot of people have trouble doing that. I think that their expectations, they expect to visually see them, and that's not always the case.
It's not the way it works. It doesn't work like that. My mom came to me, God bless her soul. Actually, my lights just flickered when I said mom. Mom's always with me. I see my mom every 2 to 3 days. She comes to me. She'll give signs to me. She's always with me. My mom is amazing, so she's always right there in front of me no matter what. But she came to me the night of her passing, and she came in my room. She opened my door. And she beeped a horn outside. And you know how a Mercedes has a weird sound of a beep? That was my mom. And I went, oh my God, she's dead. She's in my house. I called my dad. Long story short, they didn't know where she was at, but they found her the next morning. A jogger found her in the water. She actually drowned. She went to do her hair and nails, and apparently because it was a bank there, and she slipped and fell.
Oh
and
no.
she passed away, and she always said she was going to pass away near water. And I used to laugh at her. I was like, we live in Georgia. There is no water. There's lakes. There's Lake Lanier. There's no water. She says, I'm telling you, I feel it. And there was no foul play. There was no, like suicide or nothing like that. She literally slipped and fell, and that was it. But I knew she passed away because she slipped. It looked to be 2 to 3 feet of water, was like probably 12 to 14 feet. It was like an atrium,
Yeah.
and passed away at a young age too. She was like in her early 50s. So make a long story short, I knew she passed away because she came to me. I mean, my door opened. I heard her whisper in my ear.
Oh.
I woke up and I was like, Mom. And I was like, not even in the same, city with her. I was like, a couple hundred miles away from her at the time. And I was like, this is weird. And then I heard her car horn beep. And I said, this is not right. This is not her astral projecting. This is like something doesn't feel right. And sure enough, that's what happened.
Oh my goodness.
So those premonitions, whew, they're
Yeah.
powerful. They're crazy. Sometimes I wish I could just turn them off for a hot second, but you can't. That's the pros and cons of doing what I do. I love doing it, but there's no quiet time in my energy. There's no quiet time in my brain. My brain is always gone.
What do you do
Energy.
when say what do you do when you're out shopping and you're getting a message? Like, what do you do with that?
Rarely do I just go up to people, but if I really got a strong sign and I'm like, I got to do this, yes, I will approach somebody and say, look, you might think I'm crazy because, people are thinking, oh God, you're crazy, especially living, in Florida. They all think somebody's after to eat you or bite your face like salt bats around here. You never know anymore. But I'm very cautious on doing that. But I'll be like, okay, you're going to think I'm crazy, but blah, 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 blah. And they'll just look at me and be like crying, like, oh my God, thank you for that. Whatever that message is. I had a feeling one time to this person, I don't even know. I literally went up to them and hugged them. I said before, obviously, I didn't just go grab them because it would probably push me down and hit me. But I said, can I give you a hug? Spirit's telling me to give you a hug. And I just hugged this person so tight and they just started crying. They said this was like what I needed. So like spirit will do weird things, kind of like spirit will jump in and out of me sometimes. And sometimes loved ones will connect with me and my body and my spirit to communicate with them. So it's like really weird things happen.
Are any of your children?
It's a shift of energy.
Yeah. Are any of your children gifted as well?
Yes, absolutely. My girls are very gifted. In fact, my daughter is on my podcast, The Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. Yeah, she's Psychic Jessie, and she does a lot of numerology. She does a lot of energy. She's so good with astrology and numerology. She's amazing. I like to say she's the nicer, calmer version than me. Me, I like to give it rough and tough, deep and large, and I don't hold anything back. And I tell people I come with a warning label. You hear what you're supposed to hear, maybe not what you want to hear, but you hear what you need to hear, and then I help them get there. So I'm like a strong drill sergeant.
But that's good because your daughter balances, like, there's that balance that you get. Oh, we have to go check out your podcast for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We could find the link to that on your website, right?
Yeah, absolutely. PsychicDeborahGraham.com is the website. The podcast is the Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. You can stream it anywhere, anyplace, anytime, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, all those great places.
Wonderful. Well, again, we'll make sure all the links are where they need to be. Now, Deborah, I appreciate the hour and a half that you put forth here. It's been much fun and informative. Tell us what you're working on, any new projects, anything
we do have a lot of great things getting ready to happen for 2026. We're going to be doing a love relationship cruise. So you guys can check this out. Nothing has been solid in stone as of yet, but we are working on that in the fall of 2026, right around Valentine's Day, actually. So it'll be right after the new year of 2026. Huh?
Where's that going to be out of? Like what?
For right now, I think it's going to be coming out of Florida, probably somewhere in the Cape Canaveral area, but we haven't got it all set in stone as of right now. But we will be doing a love relationship cruise where we'll do a mixer, a matcher, and all that good stuff. So we're working on that for 2026 of February. I think it's right around the week of the 14th, right around Valentine's Day, and it's a week cruise. And as of right now, I'm just doing a lot of healing, a lot of energy work, and they could go to psychicdeborahgraham.com for more information about where we're going to be, what we got going on, and how to listen to the podcast, The Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. And I want to give your listeners a gift because it was such a pleasure, Carol Ann, with you today. They're going to get 50% off their own one-on-one psychic reading. Just please mention your name to say I was on with Carol Ann, and they will receive 50% off of their own one-on-one psychic reading. And if they want to get a free 5-minute live reading or more on the podcast, because it's somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes on the podcast, The Psychic Connection with Deborah Graham. Same website, psychicdeborahgraham.com for more information. And
Now
it was such a pleasure, and I hope to come back again.
Oh my goodness. I just want to make sure we got this right. They just have to say Carol Ann and they get the discount?
Absolutely, Carol Ann.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to make sure I put that in the show notes too.
Please do.
Oh,
Absolutely.
generous.
And you keep sharing your gift. Continue doing God's work. Continue being that angel that you are from the inside out, outside in. And keep doing the spirit because your grandmama loves you so much. She's giving you a babushka hug. She just came in.
Oh, that's so
God bless. Yeah, giving you that love. And I smell the gardenia. So I know she was a flower woman.
Oh, yeah. That's my Middle Eastern grandmother.
Woo, I love it.
I have so many different roots. I'm Irish, Italian, English.
It's the Italian coming in, honey. It's that strong Italian energy. I love it, girl. You probably could make a mean pot of spaghetti, girl. Sauce.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm coming over. What's cooking? Good looking.
Oh, yeah. We are going to have you back for our live because as our listeners know, we have 2 shows a week. The Thursdays are live. The Fridays are pre-recorded. Both are absolutely wonderful, but we want you back for a live, which don't go anywhere. I'm going to drop you off and stay talking to you because we need to schedule that now. This was
absolutely. Let's make it happen. At least they get a little bit of a taste of me. They know who I am, what I can do, and how it can work. And then we'll come in here live. We'll take some calls and we'll go deep and large.
Brilliant. Awesome. Well,
you.
Don't go anywhere. I'm going to drop you off and I'll come right back at you. But thank you again so very much, Deborah.
Thank you. And God bless and God be with you. And don't give up on love because love hasn't given up on you out there.
Oh, love that. All right. See you in a little bit.
Thank you. Peace.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. That was just so exhilarating. I can't wait to have Deborah back for a live because I know that's going to be a blast. And then of course you'll have the chat room. You can throw some questions at her and we'll have so much fun. But in the meantime, I want to thank you again so very much for listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, where hopefully we can help you discover your pathway to the truth. And we're broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. So for all of you that were listening on FM, please be sure to head on over to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled on YouTube so you can check out all of the links and information and get your discount on a reading today, 50% off. That was a surprise. I think that's so generous of Deborah to do. I know I'm going to sign up for one. I love readings, especially from Deborah. I felt it immediately right through the screen, I think in the first 30 seconds that I met her. So again, please be sure to head on over to our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That means the world to me when you do. And also don't forget to check out so many of the other amazing guests that we have through other people that host these shows. This is a huge network, folks, and they discuss everything from the paranormal, UFOs, conspiracy theories, cryptozoology, mysticism, you name it. The folks on this network, they will definitely hook you up with some awesome high strangeness. So please be sure to support them and show them some love as well. Meanwhile, thank you all so very much. I'm honored and blessed to be a part of this network and to take some time in your world. And I greatly appreciate that and have much gratitude. Thank you all so very much. Have a great and safe one. Bye-bye.